All right, so I'm going to go to the website of Photopea.com. I'm going to do File, New. I'm going to pick Print this time. I'm going to pick Letter, but I'm going to use these two little arrows to switch the height and width. So I'm getting a landscape view. I'm going to hit Create. And now I'm going to go to View, and I'm going to click on Rulers. And you see how the rulers are in pixels. I want them in inches. So if I double click on the ruler, I can change it from pixels to inches. So now it's in inches. All right, now the nice thing about these rulers is that you can pull them into your document and use them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select a new layer, new layer, and I'm going to grab a ruler by just clicking on it and dragging it. So that's going to be my horizon line, and I'm going to be creating a 2-point perspective house. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to turn my foreground color to black, and I'm going to, on the horizon line, make 2 points. A point here and a point over here. Okay, and I'm also going to, let's see, I'm going to add another layer, and I'm going to actually draw my horizon line itself. So I'm going to click on one side of the page, right on the line that I just pulled down, and then I'm going to click on the other side of the page. I'm going to hold the Shift key, and it's going to make a perfectly straight line. So if I hide that, I'm going to just make my vanishing points a little bit bigger. Now notice I made the vanishing points on another layer, and the reason why I did that is because I don't want to accidentally erase them later. So let me just go here to the layer with the vanishing points, and I'll make them bigger, and I can actually erase them when I'm totally done. So on one layer I have the vanishing points, and another I have the horizon line. So those things are sort of guidelines. We're going to not keep them in our final picture. So I'm going to now add another layer on top, and in this layer I'm going to draw my house. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a line from the side ruler, and I'm going to bring it to the middle. See these light blue lines, and then I'm going to grab another one a little bit in from the left vanishing point, and another one in from the right vanishing point. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I use another layer because this other house is going to be in front. So layer, new layer, and I'll make another house in front. In this case, let me just move my little guidelines around. So this guideline will go here. This guideline will go here. And this guideline will go here. So now I'm going to make a house down here. So let me just use my brush tool. I'm going to go back to black. Okay. So I'm going to click here, use the Shift key, click here. I'm going to click here, use the Shift key, click there, click here, use the Shift key, click here. Now I'm going to go here where there's the blue line. Oh, it's a little crooked, Control Z. I'll try that again, click Shift. There we go. And now I'll do this side. And this seems a little far back. I don't like that. So I'm going to take this move tool, I'm going to move this forward, and then I'm going to go back to the brush tool and cut off the back here. Oh, can come into the... There we go. Okay. Now, as you can see, I still have the top to contend with, so I'm going to show you how to deal with that. I'm going to take my... I'm going to click on the left vanishing point and then hold the shift key and click on this corner. I'm going to click on the right vanishing point, hold the shift key and click on this corner. And now I have a perfect cube, but it's below the horizon line. And because anything below the horizon line, I'll be able to see the top of. If it's too high and it's above the horizon line, I won't be able to see the top surface. So I'm going to show you a few more tips and tricks, but first let me erase the extra. So click here. Click here. So anytime you want to connect 2 points with a straight line, you just hold the shift key, you click the first point, you hold the shift key, you click the second point. So now I want to actually turn this into a house with a roof. And the problem is I need to find the middle of this surface. And it's going back in perspective. So how do you find the middle? Well, there's a trick. I'm going to just add another layer, just temporarily. And in that layer, I'm going to draw an X from corner to corner. Here we go. And where the two lines cross, that is actually the center of this building. So if I just take my guideline, let me just use my move tool. I'm going to take I'll take this guideline and move it off to the side. I don't need it right now. I'll take this one and move it off to the side. I don't need it right now. But this one, I'm going to put right where those two lines for that X cross. And that is actually the center. Doesn't look like it, but it's actually the center of my cube. So now I'm going to take my brush tool. I'm going to click on the apex of my roof. I'm going to hold the shift key and click on the corner. Click on the apex of the roof again, and then on this corner. And now I have the roof. So there's a couple of tricks here. I need to make a line going to the vanishing point for the top of the roof. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to hold the shift key and click here. And now I need to make the back part of the roof. That's going to be a little tricky because how do I know how big to make it? So there's two ways to do it. One way would be to measure this, and the same length would be this. Another would be to just take this angle and move it down this way. So I'm gonna try the former, the latter way. So let me just zoom in. Okay, so now I'm going to take my lasso tool and I'm going to lasso this line. Now remember, I made the roof in a different layer, and there's a reason. Okay, so edit, copy, edit, paste, and now I'm going to use my move tool, and I'll just move this down here. And because it's at the exact same angle, it's the back of the roof. But here's the thing. the roof is a little shorter back here because it's going to the vanishing point. So I have to just erase this little tiny bit of extra here. Okay. Now, again, I made the roof in another layer, and that's actually good because I need to erase some stuff back here. It's not visible through the house. And the house is not made of glass, so some stuff is not going to be visible. So I have to erase it, and it makes it a little easier if it's in a different layer. So there we go. All right, now let me just zoom out again. And there's some other stuff I need to erase. So let's go to the eraser. Well, let's go back up to this layer. There we go. Hold the shift key. That line's gone. Now I need to erase the X. And it is very convenient that the X is actually in a different layer than the house because I don't have to worry about accidentally erasing the house when I erase the X. The X was just there to help me find the middle. Okay, now the next thing I want to show you is how to create doors and windows. So I'm actually going to show you how to do this. There's a rule for any door and window that's on this side will have the top and bottom go to this vanishing point, and likewise if anything's on this side, the top and bottom go to this vanishing point. The sides are vertical. So how do you make vertical lines? Well, you use your move tool and you grab these lines. So I'll grab a line here. And I will use my move tool and grab a line here. And now the top of the door will go to the vanishing point. So let me just use my brush tool. I'll click here. I'm going to hold my shift key and click here. And let me just need to follow along. There. Okay, so again, the top and bottom go to the vanishing point, and the side, yeah, and the sides are vertical. Okay, and be the same with a window. So if I want to make a window, I'm going to grab these lines and put them here on this side. And I'm now going to and I may want to zoom in a little before I draw the vertical lines, just so I can see them better. Okay, so now I'll need to erase the extra. And you can see why making these things on different layers helps, because you don't accidentally erase the edges of the house. So now, just real quick, I'm going to add in some color. Let me make my house blue. Okay, so foreground color. Control Z. Okay, so now I have to fill the house, but I've got all these things in different layers, so it's not a bad idea to merge them down. Merge down, and now the entire house is in the same layer. Select, deselect, and now I'll use the magic wand to edit, fill, foreground color. Okay, so this side, remember, was lighter. So I'm going to go and I'm going to make my foreground color just a little bit lighter. Edit, fill, foreground color. Okay, so now let's do the roof. I'll make the roof red. So let me change the foreground color to a red. And I'll lighten it before I fill in this side. Okay. Select, deselect, and now I'm going to zoom out. There's just a couple of little things I want to teach you. Let me move this over this out. I'm going to show you how I added the shadows at the end of this video later. So the trick with a shadow is you have to make it look like it's red. There we go. All right. So we've established that somewhere off the edge of the page, the light is coming from the left-hand side. So I'm going to just make one more house here. Okay, just for the heck of it. I'm going to add another layer underneath here. Layer, new layer. And we're just going to go through all the rules again. Use the brush tool. Click here. Use the shift key, click here. If I want to make a vertical line, I've got to pull a vertical line over and follow that. Okay. If I want to make another vertical line to cut off the back of this house, I'm going to pull these vertical lines over so I can use them as a reference. I'll make the X so I can figure out where the middle of the roof is. And I'll make this vertical line here. It's a little crooked, so I do Control Z. Try and follow the guidelines so that it's straight up and down. Now I need to make the center line of my roof. So I take my guideline and I move it over here to make the center line of the roof. Again with my brush tool. Again. There we go. And how do I figure out how to make this back line here? Well, I have to zoom in a little. I'm going to have to copy this line. Edit, copy, edit, paste. Then I've got to take the line I just pasted in and drag it down here. It's going to be a little too long, but it should be the same angle. And there I have the back part of the house. So now I can start erasing. You just merge these layers. Merge down. Okay, so now I'm going to have to start erasing the X and the other things that don't belong here. Okay, select, deselect. Now, let me just zoom out and let's talk about doors and windows. So I have to make a door here. I think I'll make the whole thing on another layer, make it easier to erase things without erasing the house at the same time accidentally. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to just hold the shift key and go there. Control Z, I need it to be black. All right, here, hold the shift key and go here. Here, and then hold the shift key and I need to know if the line is vertical, so I've got to bring this over. In this case, I need to actually make the bottom of the door as well, because remember, it's all on a different layer. So now I can do edit fill, select, deselect. Okay. And because it's in a different layer, I can erase this and I don't have to worry about accidentally erasing part of my red house. So let me just take this, hold the shift key, take that. And now, real quick, I'm going to make a window on the other side just to remind you guys how to do it. So I'm going to have to make this a little smaller. And again, I'll make it in the same layer that the door is in, and I'll merge them later. So I'm going to click here, hold the shift key, click here. I'm going to bring my guidelines over. I'm going to click here. Hold my shift key, click here. And let me zoom in to make my vertical lines. And then I will use my magic wand, edit fill, black, select, deselect. Okay, now I need to make a shadow for this house, but first I have to get rid of these guidelines. They're in my way. And luckily they're in a different layer than the house itself, so it will be very easy to get rid of them without accidentally erasing. And again, I'm going to show you how to add all the shadows at the very end of this video. Now, if I want to, I can add in a little bit of a landscape. So I'm going to go back here to the bottom layer where this horizon line is. I'm going to use my lasso tool and I'll just create some nice mountains back here. I'm going to play around with a gradient with a blue green. All right, I'm going to bring it down a little bit. Maybe I'll erase some of that horizon line there. I don't think I need it. And now maybe down here I could use another gradient. Let's see. All right. Okay. Select, deselect. And I could probably take my background and pull it down a little bit. And another fun thing to do would be to add a road. So again, I know that I'm just going to go here and I'm going to just freehand draw a road. Now, the thing about the road is it has to get wider as it goes towards the bottom of the paper. Okay, so just doing that. Freehand draw it. And let's see what happens if I use my... Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a dark gray. And I want to make it look like it fades off into the distance. So if I go to my gradient and I start here and go here, it will look like it's fading off into the distance. So select, deselect. There we go. And this little area here I miss, so I'll just use my magic wand. And I'm going to use a little trick where I do edit, fill, and I'm going to pick what's called content aware, which means it sort of figures out what should go there. Okay, select, deselect. There we go. And now I just have to go back to my background color, unlock it, and I'm going to create another gradient for the sky. Alrighty. There's my... Okay, add another layer in here real quick. And since I have my tablet and stylus out, and you would use your finger right on the screen, there's my brush tool. There's some... I'll pick some brown. It's going to be pretty big. And if it's lower than, if the bottom of the tree is lower than this house, then it's basically in front of that house. So let me just, in back of the gradient tool is the paint bucket tool. I'm just going to fill this in. And then I'm going to take that tree, which is in its own layer, and I'm going to move it. And you can see, because it's in the foreground, it has to be in front of, I'll just drag it up, the most frontmost house. So I'm going to drag it over here, and it is in front of the house. Now, if I want to, I can take my, what's called my burn tool, which I can find over here under the dodge tool, and I'll make it a little bigger. And I'm going to take my burn tool and I'll give this some shadows. Just by going over it here, I'll get some nice shadows. Burn tool can be made softer to have a softer edge, but I'm going to just grab some along the edge here and make some shadows. Okay. Now, let's do this. Let's do layer, duplicate layer. And let's take the duplicate layer and let's make it further away. So this duplicate layer is going to be further away, and therefore, because it's in back of this house, it's going to have to be considerably smaller. So I'm going to do Edit, Transform, Scale. And I'm going to make the tree a lot smaller. The bottom of the tree is higher than this house. That means it is in back of the house. So I'm going to just put it back here. Okay. So you have to sort of figure out where things go in the landscape and how big things are. This tree in the front, maybe it should be bigger. Edit, Transform, Scale. Let's make it bigger. Okay. And if there were a person standing here, how big would they be? Well, they'd have to be the right size to fit inside the door and look out the window. So you have to keep that in mind, and as you keep in mind the scale of different things in the landscape. So I'm going to just grab. All right, to make cast shadows, what you do is I'm going to make a cast shadow of this tree. I'm going to duplicate the layer. I'm going to hide the top one and go to the second one. I'm going to go to Layer, Layer Style, Color Overlay, and I'm going to click on the red, and I'll just pick black instead and hit OK. So now I have the black version of the tree and then the regular version of the tree. I'm going to go to the black one and I'm going to do, well, first of all, let me zoom out so I can see the whole stage. I'm going to do Edit, Transform, Distort. And I'm going to push this down and I'm going to pull it to the right. So it looks like it's going out this way. Like it's laying down on the ground to the right. And I'll hit the check mark and I'll put the tree back. And now I can use the move tool and move the shadow so it looks like it's placed under the tree. There we go. So I'm going to do that to each layer. I'm going to go to this house here. Well, why don't I go to this house here since it's next. So right click, duplicate layer, go to hide the top one, go to the one underneath it, layer, layer style, color overlay. There it is, black. Edit, transform, distort. Now the steps are push down and skew to the right, and then rotate. And then you're going to have to just move it slightly to make it look like it's matched to the house. There we go. So it just takes a few minutes. We go to the top house. Layer, layer styles, color overlay, make sure it's black, and then edit, transform, distort. You do the same thing for both the tree and the top house. I'm just fast forwarding through this process since we already did it before. And when you save the file, you're going to save as PSD, so you have all the layers, and you're also going to export it as a PNG, and you're going to put both of them in Google Classroom. And that is the entire tutorial.